we might want to just get started, and we have Vice Mayor. The Vice Mayor is appearing remotely. We're ready to go. Okay, let's start our meeting. Let's call to order. Thank you so much for those in attendance and those at home. As I said, the Vice Mayor will be appearing remotely from 702 McCorkle Avenue. And I'll move to our clerk to do the roll call, please.
Mayor Doring.
Here.
Vice Mayor Deasy. Councilmember Barrick.
Here.
Spatteroto.
Here.
And Summers is absent.
All right, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I see Michelle coming on now. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you for that. So we're on to item 4 of our agenda, which is adoption of the agenda. Madam Clerk, do we have any changes to note?
There is one change. We will be pulling item 10.5, which is the license agreement with Bode EV for the charging stations at City Hall. And that will be heard at a date to be determined.
All right, so to be clear, so we are removing that, not discussing it in any form or fashion tonight, is that correct?
Correct.
All right, thank you for that. All right, with that change, the removal of item 10.5, I'll look for a motion to adopt our agenda. As
I'll make a motion to adopt our agenda.
I'll second.
the motion and a second to adopt, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. My colleagues will be making a lot of motions tonight, but I see Vice Mayor is on. Good evening, Vice Mayor. Can you hear us okay? I want to test her mic. Are you a?
Are you looking at
Yeah.
me? There's no sound coming from the city. The city is muted.
Okay. Are you able to
There you
hear
go.
us?
Thank you. Yes, I'm here.
All right, thank you. All right. Okay, moving on to approval of the minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Motion, well, I assume there's no corrections, amendments. Motion's noted then in the second. All in favor of approving the minutes? Just to note, these are from our joint planning commission and city council meeting of August 19, 2025, special city council meeting of August 26, 2025, and regular meeting minutes of August 26, 25. So I assume all that's incorporated in the motion. There's a second. All in favor to approve, say aye.
Aye.
Hi.
None opposed. Thank you. On to public forum. Item 6 on their agenda. Members of the public are entitled to speak on matters of municipal concern not on the agenda during public forum. Each person's comment shall be limited to 4 minutes. Each person is entitled to speak on any non-agendized item only once at any meeting. Brief questions by council members for clarifications may be posed and answered. And council members may make requests that items be placed on future agendas. But in accordance with state law, no substantive discussion or action may take place unless and until the matter properly appears on an agenda. All right, open it for public comment. Please approach the podium. Welcome.
Hello. Hi.
Hello.
My name is William Wagner. I have lived in the same house on Hudson Avenue for 12 years. And one thing I've noticed that's been fairly consistent is my water bill. It's gone up every year, but it's been steady and consistent. I got my water bill last week, and it was the same as it's always been until I realized it was for 1 month, not 2. And ever since we got these new meters, my water bill's gone to the roof. Everybody's water bill's gone to the roof. I've talked to my neighbors. I've talked to my in-laws who live in town. Everybody's water bill has doubled or more in the last 2 months. And now we're on monthly billing. Our bills are now, I used to pay $450 to $490, $500 every 2 months. Now I'm paying $450, $480 a month with this new billing system and these new water meters. And I can't afford it, and I doubt many people in this town cannot afford $500 a month for water. I have no pool. I have very small drip irrigation on a couple of bins. I have no lawn. I live in a 1,300 square foot house with 3 people. There's no way my water bill should be $500 a month. And coincidentally, it started when this new billing started and these new meters started, and I posted the next door. I had at least 30 or 40 people say the same thing happened to them. All of a sudden, their water bills have doubled. And people, as I said, talk to in person, their water bills have also doubled. There is something wrong. I have called the city. I have complained. I have talked to people. I've gone through. I have the Ion Water app. It said the other day, the last week, it says I use about 250, 300 gallons a day. It said on Tuesday of last week, it said I used 1,000 gallons. I didn't use 1,000 gallons. There's something seriously wrong, and nobody can afford these water bills, especially since they've magically gone up in the last 2 months. So I've had them come out and look at my meter. They say there's nothing wrong with it. I don't believe it. I think there's something seriously wrong, and this needs to be addressed, especially if you want to build affordable housing in this town. They may be able to afford rent. They're not going to be able to afford their water. So I would really, really like this taken care of as soon as possible. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
Good evening.
Mr. Belk, you're welcome. Yeah, good evening.
All right. I hope you all enjoyed the correspondence I had between the Public Works Department and myself regarding water neutrality. And I'm here tonight because I strongly believe that we need to reevaluate and relook at how our water neutral policy has been conducted since 2011. I believe it was looked at briefly in 2025, but I think it just changed the in lieu standards. But the definition of water neutrality means a new development does not increase the demand of local water sources or water usage after the development is equal to or less than water use before it. And I know the Spring Grove project has already been approved, but I'm using that as an example. If you take, for example, the Spring Grove development, that development's proposed water neutral mitigation proposal projects theoretical water use to be 11,462 gallons per day, or 4,183,496 gallons per year. The 3 existing homes on the property that will be raised for the development are theoretically using 1,350 gallons per day, 1,350 gallons per day, or 492,750 gallons per year. This represents an increased use of 3,690,746 gallons of water per year once the Spring Grove development is up and running. What is important is the St. Helena current water neutral policy incorporates the water use table I have shared with you tonight, and you should all look at it if you would. In the table, note the times of day and in gallons in use. These numbers are not from Cal Green building guidelines. They were derived from the LEED standards, and that stands for Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design, which is a voluntary green rating system developed by the U.S. Green Building Code guidelines. According to the internet, water neutrality cannot be fully accomplished using the LEED standards alone, especially without enforcement. While the LEED standards provide a strong framework for water efficiency, it differs fundamentally from the water neutrality and voluntary compliance to guarantee net zero water use. According to St. Helena's water neutral policy, the Spring Grove development will be required to offset the anticipated water demand of the proposed project by retrofitting 32 homes at an in lieu fee of $119,392. In conclusion, I don't believe that a one-time payment of $100,000 is going to create a water neutrality situation for the development when the occupants of the new development will be using 3,690,746 more gallons of water each year than the current 3 homes on the property. And I guess I'd love to ask you this question. I know you can't answer it, but how will the city maximize the use of that $100,000 to achieve water neutrality in the city? I just don't think it's possible. So we're using standards that we shouldn't be using. Those, if you look at those guidelines that I showed you, I challenge any one of you to think that the times of use are realistic. 3 times a day to use a toilet, the few minutes to use a faucet, the shower, etc. It's just not reasonable, and we should be changing it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Belt. Others? All right, bring it back to the council. It may be worthy, Mr. Leach, to maybe not respond now. Of course, we can't respond now, but it'd be interesting for me to get a good understanding of what our audit procedures are, what kind of evaluation we will be making on the reliability and effectiveness of the smart meters. It seems like that's a reasonable approach, and I don't know what the answer to that is, a technical answer. I'm not sure there's an issue to be resolved yet, but at least we should be transparent in terms of how we evaluate its success or not. I assume it's successful, but what do you think about that?
Yeah,
I don't want to get into a lot of detail.
No, I
if you
agree,
can't.
Mr. Mayor. I think we can develop the ion water interface affords us opportunity to generate reports, and so there's a variety of reports that we can present to council, to the public, as to your point, kind of measuring at least a comparison from same time period last year as it is to this year, so that both the public, council can see what's happening differently.
Yeah. I just think if somebody gets a reading that just doesn't meet their common sense, you have to trust them. A comment about, well, it was 1,000 gallons today, and there's no way that happened. I'm not there to verify that. If folks have those sort of anecdotal, maybe something's wrong, maybe there is something wrong, I don't know. I've actually had trouble. I had trouble getting onto the system. Lasted maybe 2 months, and now I'm off that. I couldn't get back on, so I just haven't had time to go down to City Hall and go, okay, walk me through it again. I think everybody needs to use the smart meter system to their advantage so that they can keep track of it, and then they can hold themselves accountable and also the city accountable too. That seems pretty reasonable, right?
Yeah, and I think too, if people are having challenges with the app, or there's ways to set up leak alarms that'll kind of trigger once there's been a continuous flow for 24 hours. That's something that we used to monitor through our system and provide leak letters to the customer. Over the course of the next 3 months, we're going to be kind of working through a transition to end that practice from the city and really kind of educate people on how to use the Ion Water app to track their own leaking if it should occur.
All right. Thank you for those comments.
Certainly.
All right. Yeah. No, now's the time. If it's not on the agenda, I'll reopen, please. I'm reopening right now. I'm sorry if I didn't see your hand wave or didn't
that's
acknowledge
okay.
you. Okay,
No,
go ahead.
Bit delayed, apologies. Thank you all this evening for being here. I attended I think it was August the 19th Planning Committee meeting where there was more participation from the community, but I just wanted to thank both of these gentlemen, and I read every one of your email on the agenda prior to coming this evening.
Address the council.
I'm sorry, I read every one of Mr.
Thank you.
Belt's the threads, and learned about net neutrality, the water neutrality. And what I would like to pose to the city council, and I don't know where this goes, quite frankly, that would be another question. Where do our comments go? Where do they land? That if the other gentleman said he's experienced exponential rates in water since the smart meters, then once we get all of this RENA housing that the state legislature has demanded that California do, what will then happen with the water bills? Sounds like they're going to be going up even further. And also, with regard to the water neutrality, common sense is going to say that it's absolutely impossible. You can't have neutrality when you're putting, 41 units on what is a postage stamp that was 3 single-family homes. math is math, and it doesn't add up. So that's kind of a moot point, but it isn't, because we're going to have to live through this if we can't mitigate this situation in some way. The other thing that I just wanted to bring to the attention was back on August 19th meeting, there were a series of comments that were posed. An article was in the paper the following week, which was really wonderful to see. Since then, maybe I've missed it, but I haven't seen any follow-ups with regard to any of those comments. And Mr. Wayne Leong, who is an architect, local architect, also sent an email, of which he CC'd me on, to a number of the council members with some specifics, requests of information, which he's requested numerous times. And unless somebody sent the information directly to Mr. Leon and did not hit reply all, which I haven't contacted him, been able to get a hold of him quite yet to see a confirmation one way or the other. Again, I'm just, we're here, we're taking our time, you're here, you're taking your time. We just don't want our concerns to fall on deaf ears. Follow-up is, I think, an integral part of community, and that we all feel heard, and that we maybe have some other steps to be taken. The third thing, and I'll make it brief, in the Wall Street Journal on September the 7th, there was an article about Fairfax, California. It's a very small, about 7,500 population in Marin County, and they are fighting back, as we are hoping to fight back, with regard to these RENA numbers. And with that said, if anyone wants to look this article up, it was September 7th in the Wall Street Journal, and there is jim.carlton@wsj.com, welcomes emails. One of those questions that we asked on the August 19th meeting was, can we put together a community movement? What other communities does, the city council members, do they know of any other communities within California, which there are? And again, we haven't heard back. So this is something that we might be able to take some active movement towards going to the state legislature. I'm sorry, that's my 4 minutes.
It is. Thank you.
Thank you.
Public comment is still open. Anyone? Last call. Close public comment. All right. Our public forum, excuse me. I did want to acknowledge, I try to do this as much as I can. There were also written comments submitted. Mr. Fowler, there's Diane Beto, Frank Janellis, Michael Powell, Susan McWilliams, Mr. Belt, as he had noted. And thank you for the public comments in either oral or written form. We do read them, and we do appreciate your comments and participation and engagement in your city. All right. On to item 7, reports by staff and city council, future agenda items and AB 1234 reports. I'm not sure if we had any reason to report out. I don't believe so, Mr. Walsh, right?
No, we haven't had a closed session since our last meeting.
It seems like we have a closed session every meeting, but whew, we skated by this time. I'll look to you, interim or acting, Manager Leach, if you have any reports, or if your staff have any reports for us tonight.
We do have a few, Mr. Mayor. Thank you. To start off, this past weekend, we hosted the Division of Drinking Water, a representative from their office. Our sanitary engineer is an instructor at Santa Rosa Junior College of students who are pursuing careers in water and wastewater. So they came to our water treatment plant last Saturday and got to see a plant in action of its particular age. And so we appreciate the opportunity to continue to work collaboratively with the Division of Drinking Water, not only as we deal with water quality issues and permit compliance, but just opportunities to kind of make sure that they're seeing and understanding how we're taking care of our system. Another item that we want to highlight that took place yesterday was the online launch of eTrack It, which is our new permitting software. Very excited about that. Lots of champagne was being toasted around the office. No, I am strictly kidding. Long time coming, long time in the works, so we're very excited about getting that to both the public and permittees, and hopefully makes the interface with staff and through the process more efficient. Another item, I have quite a bevy of items to announce. Coming up on Tuesday, September 16th, starting at 5:30, we're celebrating Mexican Independence Day hosted by St. Helena Public Library and Parks and Recreation. It's being held at 1492 Library Lane. There are flyers available. Look at our website. So that's coming up. That is, again, September 16th at 5:30. And then right after that celebration, come to a study council session and learn more about the sale of city properties. That starts at 6:30 that same evening, goes till about 8, and it's down the street at the fire station. So those are two exciting events happening on September 16th. What else do I want to talk about? Oh, Coastal Cleanup is coming up on September 20th, and that'll start at 9 o'clock at Miley Park. That is a Saturday. And then another announcement is the Community Academy. Say that one time slowly. It starts on October 1st, and typically it's Wednesdays from 6 to 8. And I think we're meeting at the Carnegie. Thank you. So if you're interested in applying and participating in the Community Academy, apply by September 15th, which is next week. So that is happening. And then I do want to acknowledge that we have received a lot of water quality and odor complaints over the last week and a half. In fact, since I looked at the Grapevine app this evening, and since August 1st, we have received 53 complaints in Grapevine. We are continuing to work with our water quality expert to both determine the source and means and methods to address the primarily odor, color, and taste. So those means and methods include both flushing and adjusting our treatment process. And then finally, for reports this evening, there were some public comments both received as part of the agenda, but also on Nextdoor, comments related to the project that's happening at the Oak Avenue parking lot related to the EV chargers. And so really want to kind of talk through what that project is and what the city's engagement in that process has been. So we'll start with next slide. Really, the city goals were to improve infrastructure and further environmental sustainability. That's kind of one of the council goals that's been transferred to this particular council as well as enhancing the quality of life. And what the project entails is there's going to ultimately be 12 level 3 chargers. So there's 11 chargers plus one ADA van space, and that's kind of reserved for a last use. But there'll also be 12 spaces available for general parking, including 2 additional ADA spaces. And then the vendor is required to meet all PG&E requirements and work through the permitting process. Next slide. And so we did receive plans. We went through a plan review process and issuance of an encroachment permit. Next slide. And you can kind of see the limits of what's happening. It's difficult to see, but it zooms in a little bit, so we'll go to the next slide. And really the important thing on this is that the reason why the landscaped areas are being removed is because they're actually moving the northern parking curb closer to the property line or to the building on the north. So that area that currently is a kind of a sidewalk path between the planting strip and that existing building, that'll remain, but the landscaping goes away to account for both the chargers and the increased depth in parking stall and increase in a drive aisle width. So the configuration of the parking lot's changing, and that's partly why the trees are being removed. Next slide, please. Actually, if you can go back to the last slide. This also reflects the limits of the asphalt that are being removed to account for all the conduit needs to be installed from both the northern parking bays as well as the southern parking bays. Next slide. So again, the limits of the demolished landscaping and planters is really to accommodate reduction in the planters and parking increase in the parking drive aisle widths. Next slide. And this just gives a kind of a flavor of some of the conduit that's going to be installed. Quite a bit of quite a bit of conduit that's going to be installed as part of the project. Next slide. One more. And so this will be these are the Tesla dock chargers that you see in a lot of places around the county and the area. Next slide. And then again, our approach has been to try to preserve trees, and quite honestly, it has not been possible. And so I think there's one of the slides I want to get to is really kind of the lessons learned in this project that I want to be able to put before the council and the community. Next slide. And it's really understanding that the trees really weren't going to be able to be maintained because of the configuration of what was needed for the chargers and the parking associated with it. Next slide. The project is also governed by AB 1236, which it's a state legislation, and so it requires local agencies to work collaboratively with vendors. But there's a fair amount of it that is not within our discretion to condition a project. And so it really has to be, you can only deny it based upon specific adverse public health or safety impact, and that's defined. And so, but I think that we do still have some lessons learned on this particular project. Next slide. And this kind of goes through what some of that specific language means. One more. Municipal code citations. It kind of deals with how can we kind of engage the Heritage Tree Committee and whether it had a tree committee hearing. These are not heritage trees, and so they're all fairly small type of thing, and they fall under my discretion in terms of their removal. We did provide a notification on each tree, but again, I think there's still opportunities for lessons learned on this particular project. Went through the encroachment permit process with the appropriate insurance and such. I think one of the things that we could do differently next time is making sure that we're engaging adjacent property owners collaboratively, engaging the community in terms of what can we do to beautify and not just kind of pave over everything, and condition that with the contractor or vendor so that it's left better than they received it. So, next slide. So commitment to the community is really to kind of work towards a collaborative process in the future, and making sure that we're able to condition the project so that there is some element of landscaping or beautification. And with that, I'll field any questions you might have.
Colleagues, questions for Mr. Leach? Mr. Barrett?
Thank you. First, thank you for the overview. I think it's important for the public to get the city's perspective there. My question's around the lessons learned. In this instance, would it have made a difference with the trees? Meaning, you had indicated that there's nothing could be done to save those trees. I'm assuming that's nothing could be done. Whether we, applied the lessons learned, we would have either had a situation where we say no and leave the parking lot as is, or switch it over? Is that the right way to understand that, or the wrong way?
So, I mean, if I were to Monday morning quarterback it at this point, could we have come back and said, install, change the parking lot configuration and install some planters, right? Some of the finger planters that extend parallel to the depth of the stall, and install like shrubs or trees in that particular area, versus where they're currently at is like the nose end of the parking stalls. So could we have done something differently with the landscaping configuration? Probably. So, but in terms of saving the trees at the nose end of the stalls, I don't think so, because of the need for the charger locations, all of the conduit that was there. I know there's been some public comment about installing the conduit underneath the paved area, where they're removing the paved area anyway. But I think the concern is it would have an impact on the roots. So I think there's probably something creative that we could have engaged the vendor with to do a little differently.
Okay, and I assume they're not open to engaging to do something different? It's too far along?
I believe the train has left the station, so to speak. I'd have to talk with my staff to see where the contractor's at in terms of mobilizing and such.
I think it'd be good.
Can't hurt to ask the question.
Wouldn't hurt.
Certainly.
Thank you.
Questions?
That would have been my only question.
All right. The other thing is not only dealing with the vendor to see if there's any opportunity. I do want the project to move forward, and it does sound like we're fairly late in it. But having an open mind in terms of any ideas that adjacent owners could provide to make their spaces more livable. Frankly, I know these
Certainly.
are parking lots, but shady. I think we should be open to those kinds of things. If folks have an idea about a tree replacement or things like that to kind of mitigate some of these issues, I think we should at least explore it. Of course, things are costly, but there may be some room to have a dialogue with some of the adjacent owners to see if there's anything that creative minds can come up with to mitigate. So I
Agreed.
appreciate that. All right.
Thank you.
Vice Mayor Deasy, anything from you?
I think you all covered it. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, anything else, Mr. Leach, from our
I
staff?
check my list. That captures it, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
All right, thank you for those reports and the update on trees. It's trees, water, and housing, trees, water, and housing, Mr. Leach. Now
It
the
certainly is, Mr.
EVs
Mayor.
now the
Yeah.
EVs are like houses. They have their own special laws for them to be placed.
They do.
All right, so we're on to item 8, presentations and public recognitions. We have 2 proclamations tonight, proclamation for Suicide Awareness Month and a proclamation for National Hispanic Heritage Month. And by routine and practice, I will go to the podium. We're going to do the Suicide Awareness Month. Ms. Olson, maybe join me, and if you have a couple comments after I read the proclamation, be happy to have that. All right. I don't know why we do this, but Mayor Galbraith and others always did this, so I just follow the tradition of coming to the podium. Look, you have your notes. Let me read your notes. No. I'm going to turn this way. Thank you. Just give me a moment to read this, and I'll give this to you.
Great.
I have my own version because I shortened it a little bit to be more readable, but I'll read this to our public, our citizens. This is entitled Suicide Prevention Month, September 2025. Whereas the Napa County Suicide Prevention Council, also known as SPC in this document, is a public-private collaborative dedicated to reducing stigma around suicide, supporting those who have lost loved ones to suicide, identifying and advocating for resources, and promoting a safe, connected, and resilient community to reduce the risk of suicide. In the last 8 years, SPC has worked tirelessly to reach its vision of a suicide-free community through education and training, stigma reduction, linkage to services, and provision of resources to combat suicide. Whereas in Napa County, adults over age 60 experience the highest rates of death by suicide. Firearm use and hanging, suffocation account for about 8 in 10 deaths by suicide. In 2023-2024, the SPC published a 3-year strategic plan for suicide prevention, which reflects the priorities, accomplishments, and needs for suicide prevention in our beloved Napa County. This past fiscal year, SPC trained 249 youth and 387 adults in the question, persuade, refer model of suicide prevention. Whereas in partnership with Napa County Health and Human Services, the SPC organized and will host the 2nd annual Suicide Prevention Conference on September 17th, 2025, with the theme of Beyond Awareness, Allies in Action, and Suicide Prevention. In particular, this year's conference will focus on population groups at high risk of suicide, including older adults, as I've mentioned, veterans, and LGBTQ plus youth. Whereas every resident of our city can be an ally by knowing the signs of suicide, finding the words to communicate with someone they are concerned about, and reaching out to local resources for help. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Paul Jamison Doring, Mayor of the City of St. Helena, along with the entire City Council, do hereby proclaim September 2025 as Suicide Prevention Month. I'm going to hand it over to Jenny Olson, but before I do, I would just like to say, I don't think there's another person in Napa County who's been more influential in this space, mental health and suicide prevention, than the woman standing right next to me. And I'm honored to have you as a friend. I'm grateful for your public service, and I hope that you continue to stay in this space. So I'll give that to you and allow you to make a few comments, and then we'll go to the next proclamation.
Thank you very much.
All right, sure.
Ooh, I wasn't expecting that. Thank you, Mayor Doring, and City Council members and city staff for acknowledging and recognizing September as Suicide Prevention Month. My name is Jenny Olson, and I am currently a prevention director at Mentis down in Napa and the chair of the Napa County Suicide Prevention Council. This year, as you heard, we are focusing our efforts for our conference, which is next Wednesday. I have flyers to share on our communities most at risk for suicide in Napa County. Over the past 8 or 9 months, we have worked with Napa County epidemiology team and a data work group, including representatives from all our healthcare facilities, to look at local and national suicide statistics. So now we do have solid data that these population groups are the most at risk. So we're really targeting them at this year's conference. At the conference, which will be in Yountville, so it's closer for you all in St. Helena. I hope you can make it. Yountville Community Center. We will have breakout panel sessions focused on older adults and veterans. We will have a live interactive ally training by national organization, the Trevor Project, which supports LGBTQ youth, particularly preventing suicide and mental health risk in our LGBTQ youth all over the country. They're an amazing organization. That's going to be a really impactful presentation. It's going to teach us how to be better allies for our queer youth. And then the evening's keynote speaker is Calistoga City Council member Lisa Gift. She will share her lived experience with suicide ideation alongside her dedication to public service. Her mission is to reduce stigma, normalize conversations around emotional well-being, and champion compassionate care systems across the community. So I hope you can join us. As I said, I have flyers I will leave. Hopefully you can distribute these, post them. And I just want to end by saying that suicide does not discriminate. People of every age, race, ethnicity, gender, and ability can be at risk. It is especially important that we continue reaching our most vulnerable populations. So thank you again. Your acknowledgement of suicide awareness is truly appreciated.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And be sure to take this.
Thank you. I took the wrong thing.
That's okay. Switch out. All right. We're going to shift gears fairly dramatically, but again, my honor and privilege to read this proclamation. This is a proclamation recognizing National Hispanic Heritage Month. I have with me Mr. Oscar Deato. I'm pleased that you're here to receive this, and will also allow you to make a few comments after I read this proclamation. Whereas in 1968, President Lyndon B. Johnson first recognized Hispanic Heritage Week, later expanded by President Reagan to 1 month. Each successive president has continued this tradition of declaring September 15 through October 15 to be National Hispanic Heritage Month, and has called upon the people of our country to observe this month with appropriate respect, ceremonies, and activities. Whereas Napa County and the city of St. Helena have a long history of welcoming immigrants and are home to a growing multi-ethnic and multicultural Latino population, including citizens originating from Mexico, the Caribbean, Central and South America, all of whom are welcome and very much appreciated in our community. Whereas we recognize the importance of acknowledging the diversity of our Hispanic and Latino communities. They span a multitude of countries, languages, cultures, traditions, and they contribute significantly to the vibrant mosaic of American life. Whereas in 2014, the Latino population became the largest ethnic group in the state of California. The city of St. Helena honors and celebrates the long-standing contributions of our Latino community, both here and throughout our state and country. The diverse Latino population of Napa County makes a significant economic contribution and offers profound positive influences through a strong commitment to family, faith, education, hard work, culture, and service. They enhance and shape our community through multi-ethnic and multicultural customs and traditions. Whereas the city of St. Helena and Napa County thrive on the diversity and ingenuity of all people and depend on the continued support and success of our diverse Latino population. We continue to be enriched by the transcultural contributions of our Latino friends and neighbors, and we continue to create a more inclusive environment where all can thrive. Whereas we invite all community members to take part in this year's Hispanic Heritage Month celebrations here and throughout Napa County. Now, therefore, let it be resolved that I, Paul Jamison Doring, Mayor of the City of St. Helena, and the City Council of St. Helena do hereby proclaim September 15th through October 15th, 2025 as Hispanic Heritage Month in the City of St. Helena. And I'll give you that and allow you to make a few comments if you so desire. All right, and I'll give you that. Thank you. And I'll let you turn that around.
Well, thank you, Mayor. Thank you very much. But and I'd like to thank also Clara for its invitation, but as well the City Council for having this commemoration as a traditional function of your roles. I think it's important because, as you all know, it's no secret. There's been a major increase in the tensions between the Latino communities and the federal government, and in particular with ICE. These things have been happening for a number of months now, if not longer, but they're more overt. And it's created more chasms within these two communities than ever before. In fact, I don't know if you're aware, but Sacramento canceled their heritage event for fear that ICE was going to appear at the state capitol. So with that, I want to commend you city council members, Mayor Doring, staff, for having taken the higher road and having this event here this evening to commemorate and to respect and to acknowledge the workmanship and the values that these families have brought here to St. Helena, not just in the last 5, 10, 15 years, but the last 60 and 70 years. I myself have been a resident of St. Helena for 69 years, having arrived here at the age of 2 on a Greyhound bus, when my father was given, my father, Feliciano de Aro, who was a bracero at the time, who was working with Charles Krug, with Patriarch and with Matriarch, and they sponsored his green card. So as a result of that, I am here. I've been here for many years. I've picked grapes, I've picked walnuts, I've picked prunes, I've worked at Taylor's Refresher for a number of years, and every year I see more and more and more Latinos and more families that arrive here in St. Helena and enjoy this city for what it is. One thing that I also wanted to mention, because I made a copy of the proclamation. One thing that I also wanted to acknowledge in terms of information that I learned just in the last few months with my godson Luis Hurtado, is that we have counted over 20 businesses in St. Helena owned by Latinos. And I have the list if you should ever want to see the list that we came up with. But that's amazing. And I think that's a contribution that is rarely ever mentioned. And I think needs to be more acknowledged, that businesses in St. Helena owned by Latinos are thriving and they're growing and they're here to stay. So with that, I want to thank you very much for this opportunity. I want to accept this on behalf of all Latino community here in Santa Elena, que toda la gente, de las familias, de los campesinos, de todas las personas que me ayudan en Santa Elena, esto es para ustedes. I also want to, as well accept this in memory of the 6 farm workers who were killed just not too long ago. So with that, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Diato, and thank you for some of the other tidbits of information and the comments you made. Very important to make. Thank you. All right. And thank you, Ms. Olson. Have a great day. Okay. So there is no additional staff briefing as far as I can tell. So we're on to the consent calendar. Members of the council or the public present at the meeting may ask that any items be considered individually for purposes of considering alternative action, for extended discussion, or for public comment. Unless that is done, one motion may be used to adopt all recommended actions. As was stated earlier, 10.5 will be removed and heard at a later date. I'll look to my colleagues to see if they wish to have further clarification or discussion on any of these items. Mr. McKellar, you want to pull an item? I see your hand up. 10.2. Do that. Okay. And I'll look for a motion to adopt the balance of the consent calendar with the exception of 10.2, 10 and 10.5.
I'll make a motion to accept the consent calendar minus 10.2 and 10.5.
I will second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second to approve the consent calendar as amended. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Councilmember Barrick,
Yes.
Spataroto,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Deasy,
Yes.
and Mayor Doring.
Yes. Ms. McKelly, tell us all there is to know about this wonderful opportunity that I've slaved over for many years now. Go ahead.
I'm Anthony McKelly, and first I want to thank the mayor for pouring last year.
Thank you.
For 2 hours and met a lot of his voters, 4 hours, I'm sorry, 4 hours. And he met a lot of people that, other than here, that come to complain to the city. I just want to say thank you for the city for allowing me to do this event. It's the 6th year, but it's only the 5th time I'm able to do it because COVID, that year I could not put on this event. And it's sponsored by the Sons of Italy, Sons and Daughters of Italy in America. I just wanted to tell you that my friend, 4-time world champion accordion player is coming back this year, and he gets flown out from Connecticut to San Jose because they have a concert the next day, but he comes up and plays for us for free, which is a big treat because he plays at the White House. Ann Chateau called me, and I think our congressman is going to come to the event this year. And also, I have a new piano player and a new drummer coming this year. And anybody's welcome to get on the stage and perform. You don't have to be Italian either. Also, I'd appreciate any staff members or city council that wants to participate in the event. I understand Kate Sperato is going to pour her wine at the event this year, which is great. So we have another winery. We have about 25 Italian wineries coming. And last year, Ann Navarro, who was a mayor at one point here when Dale Britton passed away, she came up to me and she wanted to take over or help me get more St. Helenians to the festival. And so she, this year, is in charge of all that. She, last week, provided the editorial board for the Star to interview me about the festival and other things she's doing. We're going to have baskets that we're going to raffle off, and she's going to decorate the park with flags and make it pretty spiffy, I hope. And only one setback this year, the Interact Club usually decorates the park for me, but Jason Kilparis, who is the teacher at the high school, disbanded that group. And today I met with Alba Gonzalez, who took over Craig's Bond duties as the choral director, and I think her students are going to decorate the park today. So I invite all the council staff and to come and enjoy the day. And this year, because of, I think I told you last year, ABC said I couldn't give away alcohol anymore because it used to be a free event. So this year we're going to ask for a $10 donation. Well, they actually told me I have to charge what the alcohol is worth. And I can't do that because I can't charge $50 for people to go to the event, because some of the wines we are pouring are worth $50. So we're going to ask this year for a donation, and I hope a donation works for the ABC, of $10 to enjoy the alcohol or beer or water or Gatorade and all the food you can eat and the music. So I hope $10 is not out of line for the event. Thank you again for letting me do that and
All right.
letting the Sons of Italy do this event. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McKelly, for all of your work on this matter. All right. Do you have flyers for some of us to pass around at some point, or could you get them to City Hall? That'd be great. All right. Okay, I'll bring this back to council. With a last name like Spatteroto, I think there might be a conflict of interest, but I'll look for a motion to approve the matter, not to mention that charged wine. I'll look for a motion to approve the matter happily.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
The motion and a second. All in favor of approving this item, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. That motion passes unanimously.
Mr. Mayor, sorry to be a stickler.
Public comment?
but-
Any public comment?
No, we have to do roll call because.
Oh, we have to do roll call. That's
Vice Mayor
right,
Deasy
because
is
we have a
absent.
remote participant. Okay, we'll do this one more time. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilmember Barrick?
Yes.
Spatteroto?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Deasy?
Yes.
Mayor Doring?
Yes, that was pretty fast. Well done, Madam Clerk. Okay, done. All right. So we do not have any public hearings tonight. There's no old business on the agenda. And so we're on to new business, item 13. Here we are. Mr. Leach.
Yes, we are,
We're
Mr.
running
Mayor.
about 15 minutes behind, so I just wanted to let you know that.
I appreciate that. And I would say out of the gate, I want to extend my apologies to members of the Water and Wastewater Advisory Committee. We had originally collaborated with them to present an item related to water quality and kind of what the city is doing and a process to address the items and issues related to water quality. Unfortunately, I didn't get the item agendized properly. And so that item's going to be coming back on, I believe, October 13th, first meeting in October. So I did want to acknowledge and apologize to members of the committee that were primed to make that presentation. So with that, let's move into the presentation this evening. We'll go to the next slide. There's 3 items we want to touch on that we had brought before the Water and Wastewater Advisory Committee last week. And that's the notion of advancing the user rate study. We'll talk a little bit more about that. Typically, that's a study that's done on a 5-year cycle to make sure that the revenues and expenditures are aligning as it relates to operations and capital projects for both water and wastewater enterprises. We'll provide you an update on some of the key capital improvement plan projects, and then talk a little bit more about retaining an owner's representative services specific to some of those CIP projects to kind of help deliver those projects in a timely manner. Next slide. So as we presented this to...
Talk really slowly. I know Mr. Barrick had to take a little break, but he's
Okay.
coming right back.
Okay. As we had spoken to the Water and Wastewater Advisory Committee, I can just take a pause.
It's okay.
Some of the highlights that we spoke to them about is that really the impetus to at least presenting this to them and to you is just seeing a delta in the revenues from actuals approximated to date for both fiscal year 24 and 25 as compared to the original rate study projections. And as you can see on the screen, what was really high-level preliminary order of magnitude because we're still analyzing the closing of the books for both those fiscal years. For fiscal year 24, it was about $1.5 million shortfall, and for fiscal year 25, it looks like it's just under $1 million, about $900,000. We're also seeing that since the inception of the original rate study and its adoption, there have been a number of projects that have been added to the capital improvement plan that are being funded either through water bonds, GO bonds, or through the rates. So the idea is it time to advance that study and to right size it compared to what the current CIP is. And then the proposal really was to kind of advance it and start the process now with the aspirational goal of implementation on July 1st of 26. Next slide. Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry, go back to the one slide, and I do want to speak on in the staff report. I did talk about what some of the commentary that came from the Water Wastewater Advisory Committee, and really it wasn't their concern. Really was wanting to see what the financials are, and to get an understanding operationally and fiscally how things are landing, and is the 900,000 that's being projected. Are we getting close to that? Is that going to be real? And so the idea is that they wanted to understand a greater sense of, is the need there to do this now? Or should we be deferring some capital projects and extending those out versus keeping them programmed as were originally envisioned in the study? So I appreciate it was a thoughtful interaction between staff and the advisory committee. But the commitment that we had to them at the time was to bring back more information. But really this item before you tonight is, would you consider or entertain this idea of advancing the rate study prior to fiscal year 28? Because right now our schedule of rate increases goes through July 1st, 2027. With that, next slide. Now we do want to touch on a few of the capital projects. Some of the items that are driving these, the need for the projects are regulatory requirements, interaction with the Division of Safety of Dams as it relates to both Bell Canyon Dam as well as Lower Reservoir Dam. That's kind of an example. In infrastructure condition assessments, we're about 98% complete of our water treatment plant condition assessment. We're working with legal counsel to review that document as to see what's appropriate and doesn't jeopardize Homeland Security criteria, to be able to bring that before you and the public to kind of give you an order of magnitude of some of the needs at the water treatment plant. And then there's timing associated with funding such as bond deadlines, and as well as operational reliability and water security. And with that, next slide.
Ooh, this is a good slide.
Yeah, we've broken this up into to high priority, medium priority, and low priority. So I want to give kudos to Vice Mayor Deasy for assisting us with kind of providing a format and a template, which I think helps communicate to the public both the nature of the project, what's driving the rationale, the budget to date, some timelines and funding sources. Again, these presentation is on our website. It's been uploaded to the agenda. So we'll just touch on a few of them. The Tank 2 rehab project is in design. We're expecting to go out to a bid actually in later this couple months. And the expectation is to start construction in December. Probably slide into January. But we can't go much beyond that because Tank 2 is such a vital component of our system. And sorry, I'll pause real quickly. If there's any questions that come up along the way, send out a flare, give me a nod, and we'll pause and answer questions.
All right, thank you.
Working through the design of the Bell Canyon Intake Tower, that's been I put that in the category of a legacy project that's been on the books for a while. We are working through the environmental process. We expect to bid this project in second quarter, well, it says design complete in second quarter of fiscal year 26. We expect to kind of actually award the project in second quarter of 27, and then kind of progress through construction into the off season of fiscal year 27. Skating improvement projects, this is one that's really critical to water quality. Some might not make the connection, pun intended, between a computer monitoring system and the ability to monitor what's going on with the various treatment plant processes and systems in our other sources. But really now, a lot of the alarms that staff get are just that, alarms. They have to go to the site and to the facility and investigate what the alarm is. And sometimes even those alarms are faulty, as we had documented in our, I believe it was our August 7th notice to the public about a failed chem pump. And so the idea is this is a budget of almost $1 million to go through both Bell Canyon Treatment Plant, the Stonebridge Well Complex, and the Rutherford Pump Station, and to be able to incorporate a system that they can talk to each other, that staff can monitor and actually operate those systems remotely to better effectuate changes in water quality as it happens closer to real time. The last item on the high priority projects, the high priority sewer pipeline project, we've awarded, it's about $120,000 that's part of a larger sewer rehab project that you awarded last council meeting, but we will be working towards developing a 5-year high priority pipeline replacement. Again, this is the pipelines that are within 300 feet of a body of water, whether it's Sulphur Creek, Napa River, and so that in our collaboration and settlement agreement with Riverwatch, we have a means and method to evaluate and rehab those first. Next slide. Off to the medium priority slides, project, sorry. Napa Intertie pump station replacement. We have started the design of that. You've awarded a contract with Oscar Larson Associates. We haven't quite identified funding for actual construction, but it's going to be about 6 to 9 months worth of design. And so this could be one of those projects that becomes a priority in a next rate study. Then we get off to the 1870, which is the replacement of 1% of sewer mains annually. You did award a project for $820,000. And so that project is going to commence as soon as the contractor's done with our annual paving project. The same contractor was awarded that, so we're excited about that they're able to remain in town and begin starting on some undergrounds. And on the Cronulla pump station, I can say that you will probably seeing a notice of completion action item on this item in October. So we are that close to completing that project. If you haven't been past the pump station recently, it is beautiful as far as pump stations go. So, but I tend to geek out on
We'll
those
have to have
things.
a ribbon cutting someday.
That is an excellent idea, Mr.
Thank
Mayor.
you.
Yes. Off to the low priority projects. The Napa Intertie pipeline replacement. Again, this is the replacement of the Intertie pipeline from about Mee Lane north to the Sulphur Creek Bridge with a budget of about $6.5 million. Again, that's replacing a pipe that was built in 1947. And any of those who frequent GOTS understand how often public works staff repair that main line and place clamps on it. Similarly, the water treatment plant transmission main, which goes from the plant down, ultimately gets on to Pratt. It's about a $9 million project. We're working through the request for proposal for design services on that. That'll probably be coming to council early October for authorize issuing the RFP and then go to award for professional services sometime in December. And then finally, our wastewater treatment plant project. We are in demonstration testing as we speak. That is a 60-day and hopefully the final 60-day of testing before the plant is deemed substantially complete. I can't have a sense of if they'll complete all of the punch list items and warranty work, well, in advance of warranty work, prior to the end of this calendar year, but that's what we're striving for. Next slide, please. Now we move into this idea of delivering projects. We had, with the departure of Deputy City Manager, Public Works Operations Manager Leslie Milton, we have confirmed that we're no longer able to kind of figure out a contractual relationship with her, unfortunately, which leaves a fairly significant high-level manager and key staff person in our operation. And so with that, we're reprioritizing work. We'll be commencing the recruitment for the replacement. But in the meantime, we kind of have to triage what projects are
where they're at and figure out are there delivery model alternatives to be able to keep things on track. And so with that, the idea we do have a contractual arrangement with Haley Aldrich. They've provided some staff augmentation services and owner's rep services on the smart meter project, which continuing to work through. But they have a strong understanding of our systems, our process. They've developed staff reports on behalf of staff before. And so that's kind of the role of owner's rep, is to be able to be an extension of staff in delivering projects. Next slide. And so what we've worked with them on is providing, really want to have specific projects that they can come in and help do this role. I don't really want to have a role where we have to shoehorn them into the process, but it's something that fits relatively seamlessly. And these 7 projects I think we have here are those types of projects where they're overseeing other consultants. It's not construction management services. It's not inspection services. It's really managing other consultants to get through the design process. And so what they've provided to us, what I requested from them is said, just give me a really high level, because I really want to get an understanding from both the Water Wastewater Advisory Committee and the council to see if this is something that both entities would support. Again, with the goal of continuing to deliver these projects that are critical to the community. We did have some lively conversation with the Water Wastewater Advisory Committee. Their first wonder is the budget that's being proposed, it sounds really low. And were they really including all the scope that was necessary? So once I clarified that it wasn't construction management or inspection services, then they kind of agreed, well, that's in line to kind of manage, in essence, it's project management services. Any particular questions on that so far? Next slide. And with that, the council direction we're seeking is input on advancing the water wastewater user rate study to fiscal year 26 versus the original dates to, I think that should say 27, 28. Do you have any questions about the current disposition of capital improvement plan projects for delivery? And then do you have a particular insight, perspective, opinion, thoughts regarding extending an agreement with Haley Aldrich to perform owner's rep services? I do want to clarify that on the owner's rep services, we will be coming back to you for actual authorization of professional services agreements specific to those projects.
All right.
And with that, I'll field any questions you might have.
Any initial clarifying questions? We'll have a greater discussion a little bit later. Yes, Ms. Patarotto.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just have a couple of just clarifying questions, I guess. I know you had mentioned that the project budget numbers aren't obviously, it's more of literally what the project would cost. Do we have any kind of a guesstimate? Are we looking to get bids, or where are we as far as getting even more information as to how much it might actually cost to do all these specific projects?
So to clarify, you're referring to like the tables that we had and the budgets that were in there? Yeah, I think kind of the process typically is we start with a study that generates a really high-level planning estimate budget. Then the next step to kind of quantify that budget gets to when we award engineering services, and they start working through design and some of the constraints associated with design. The project evolves from there, and then they develop an engineer's estimate. So that helps refine the budget a little bit more, but usually they add, depending on the complexity of the project, could be anywhere from a 15 to 35% contingency, right? So, and then we really don't fully know until we go out to bid and award a contract, which we still include at least a 15% contingency. So with time, as a project develops and is refined and the scope is refined, then that budget gets more known and the unknowns become less. Does that make sense? So when you see project budgets here that are still in design, we may or may not have received our engineer's estimate from the design engineer yet. When we do, then we can typically update those budgets.
Thank you.
Certainly.
My other question, and I'm pretty sure I know the answer, but I just want to throw it out there. Has the city of Napa been at all involved with anything with Bell Canyon as far as what needs to be done, since they kind of also have water from there?
The city of Napa.
So they take water, they use that water, correct? So they use some of that water. So I'm just talking about specifically the Bell Canyon intake tower replacement. Is there any potential that there might be some aid, city aid from them as far as helping with that?
Yeah, just to clarify, so the water that we share with Napa comes from either Hennessy or Jameson Canyon, which is part of the State Water Project.
Right.
So those are not connected
They're
to
not
Bell
connected to
Canyon.
the town
Yeah,
tower.
Bell
Okay.
Canyon is just ours and ours alone.
I thought they were connected
Yeah.
to the tower somehow. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for the
Certainly.
clarification.
Yep.
All right. Any other clarifying questions? I'm going to open it to public comment, and so we can bring it back for discussion and more in-depth questioning. I'm going to open the matter for public comment and invite anybody in the public to address your council on this very interesting and complicated agenda item. Mr. Rose, nice to see you.
Yeah, good evening. Gary Rose, St. Helena, and I guess I'm speaking a little bit for the Water and Wastewater Committee, and I'm sorry I arrived late. I missed Mr. Leach's discussion of the rate study and moving it up. And I think the Water and Wastewater Committee, as I understood it from our last meeting, the recommendation to move that up, we wanted to delay that until we've had a chance as a committee to look at some of the financial items and all of that. And I thought this was just a discussion, and then I see that last slide was they're looking for direction from you as to whether or not it should be moved up. And I don't know if that's something that if Mr. Leach is looking for that direction tonight or not. But the Water and Wastewater Committee has a few things they would like to look at before they would recommend doing it. And one of them was, if we do move it up, are we really prepared for a water and wastewater study from the standpoint of providing all of the information that they typically want? Now, having been on the rate study committee last time, we held them up. The rate study committee held up the contractor. City staff, in some cases, held up the rate study contractor because of information they wanted. The general feeling of the committee is that we really know what they want, and it would be nice to, and we don't know everything that they want, but we've got a laundry list of items, having been through this before, that I think we could prepare much better for the contractor and hopefully get a little better if the RFP were written, letting them know that we're ready for this rate study. Maybe we could get a little bit of break on the price of the actual rate study. So I don't know if you're looking for direction from the council tonight. My hope would be that we wait to make that decision until the Water and Wastewater Committee looks at the data that we've requested from staff before that decision is made. Thank you very much.
All right. Mr. Rose raises an interesting question that you addressed to a certain degree in your staff report. My understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, was that the next item before the committee is really more of a prioritization exercise, and that you were looking for maybe more general direction, or are you looking for specific direction? I understand the point. This comes up obviously with I'll get to you, Mr. Bell, with committee work. We want to get the input from the committee and not make a decision before they've given the input, but yes, at the same time, we want to have discussions at council so there's always a balancing of those two items. What are your thoughts on Mr. Rose's comments? And then I'll get to you, Mr. Belt.
Yeah, I think I wanted to make it really clear that acknowledging that we wanted to bring it back to the advisory committee with the financials that they were seeking to kind of make sure that they can either say thumbs up or thumbs down. But part of bringing it to you at this point is saying if the council doesn't really want to pursue that at all, then let's stop that process and prioritize
I
other
understand.
things.
Okay.
Right.
And that makes sense.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Mr. Belt, sorry.
Thank you, Paul. Mr. Leach, could I ask you a question?
Well, no. Ask it to the council, and then we'll.
Council, okay.
Yeah. That's the
It's
way
my
we do it.
understanding that the current rate study goes through the fiscal year of 2028. Is that correct or incorrect?
right.
Okay, that would be my first, so it would be.
We'll just have a list of questions.
So it'd be a 2-year increase in the, doing the study. I've lived here since 1977. I've been interested in the water for a long time. I attended the 2006 rate study from the Reed Group. In 2011, the Reed Study Group again did the utility rate study. Catherine Hansford did it in 2016 and 2017, and Ralph Tillis did it in 2023. The purpose of doing a rate study is to conduct over a 5-year period of time to ensure that the rates are sufficient to cover the costs of providing safe, reliable services, including operations, maintenance, debt service, and capital improvement projects. We've been doing utility rate studies, since 2006, and I don't think that we've ever been able to accomplish what the goal of doing a rate study is. When you look at the cost of where we are now with what I would have to ask Mr. Leach again, but what, $40 million in capital improvements we're looking at? Before you approve another utility rate study and move it up 2 years, I really think you should take the community in consideration as to how we feel about how high our rates have gone already in the last 20 years or 25 years. I computed it to be over 1,000% that it's gone up. And I think there's a chance that the community might say no if it was going to a vote of 50 or more percent. I think the people in this community are very upset about how high water rates are, especially in consideration to the quality of our water. If I read the information that Mr. Leach provided, we're down on revenues. Why do you think we're down on revenues? It's because we've already raised our rates so much for so long. It's not a matter of conservation. It's a matter of people can't afford to pay the water. At least a lot of the people in middle class and lower class. I mean, these people who have these second homes and have these $1 million homes, they can afford it, but not all of us can. So I would really like to ask you tonight to delay making a decision on increasing or updating another utility rate study until the community is more aware of it. You get the feedback from the community, and can we really solve the purpose of doing another utility? I mean, considering what the purpose of it is, are we going to be able to do it the next time around? I think these are really serious questions that you need to ask yourself before we approve another utility rate study after 3 years. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Belt. Anyone else? Okay, I'll close the public comment, bring it back. Mr. Leach, I think we're at that point. There's a critical stage that we've reached in our community where folks are struggling. I'm hearing this a lot, and I haven't heard it as much as I've heard it in the past, where folks, what I would say middle-class folks, regular folks, whatever you want to call them, people are coming to me all the time right now and saying, wow, this is really unsustainable for us. And I sense a little both dread and fear. And so on the one hand, if you delay you don't have enough money to fund your system. And we obviously have a moral and ethical and legal obligation to provide water and sewer services to our community. Yet the costs are becoming so prohibitive that we're in a real difficult bind. One of the things I was thinking about, just from a philosophical perspective, is the notion of the term study. You know, and maybe we don't want to say that a study is necessarily an increase. I think this may be the most important study that we may ever have in our community in terms of what we, you know, bite off, so to speak, to do. What you know, that's why the prioritization is so critical. We've got to, you know, there's some items on your list that are absolutely, I think, beyond critical. They're, you know, Bell Canyon, the intake tower, transmission line, water from that, those are critical, but beyond critical. And so we have to pay for those. But do you see this point? So folks are struggling. A lot of the big users have conserved dramatically. There's no question about that. And so that those funds are not getting into our system as we anticipated. And so I'm looking at this study as more of, gosh, we have to be a heck of a lot more creative and spend a lot more time on these issues. You know, we're always trying to find a sweet spot in terms of conservation and the ability to fund.
Yeah.
But I just want to make it clear that I hear it from folks, and I think our staff needs to hear it and our council needs to hear it. I'm sure you've all heard it, that folks are at this point where they're getting a little nervous about their water bills. And that's one thing that's coming up. You know, I was thinking as I was driving over here today, it's water and housing that are predominating this mayor's term. We've got to tackle these things. And if folks don't realize how serious I am about tackling these things, they're dead wrong. We definitely are focused on this, and you can see that with our finance committee and our water and wastewater committee. And thankfully, that input is being considered, and we need to continue to do that. So I know I've said a lot, but I just wanted to make sure that folks in the public understand that this council realizes, yeah, you know, I get a bill too. I see, my wife pays that bill, but I get the kitchen table, is this 2 months or 1 month kind of thing? 1 month, honey. You know, and we have the resource, a lot of folks don't. So it's getting to be that point where people are worried. Anyway, no burden on you, but what's your answer? No, I mean, let's talk about philosophically why we would want to do a study. I think we need to probably move it up, but we also have to get the input, get the data to the committee. But, you know, in other words, for me, it's direction to go forward, but obviously conditioned upon another look by the committee. That seems to be making sense. And then I'll open it up to others and see what they have to say.
Yeah, and I would, I think I agree with all public comments on this matter so far. Mr. Rose stated it eloquently as usual. I think the idea of getting the data in a form for which a rate consultant can come in and work expeditiously through the process. As anybody who's been through the process before, as Mr. Belt knows through, you know, all the studies that you've been through and seen in this community, it's somewhat of an iterative process, because to get that rate increase that covers both operations, capital, preventative maintenance, debt financing, there's a balancing process there that has to happen. But I think the idea of prioritizing the capital improvement plan through the Water Wastewater Advisory Committee, it really is an essential first step. Because I think how the plan was developed originally as part with the last rate study has an opportunity to be revisited. So whether that leads into an advancement of developing a rate study in advance of the two-year schedule, I think that's still up for both the committee and the council to kind of provide some insight and direction on.
All right. I'll look to my colleagues for more, and then we'll get to the other issue with respect to the, you know, the gap in capacity at our Public Works Department in terms of overseeing some of these large projects. I'll talk about this one first, I think, and get some general direction. Others wishing to comment on expedite, or at least moving up a little bit the study, or at least giving direction, obviously subject to the Water and Wastewater Committee's input. Yep, Vice Mayor Deasy, I see you.
Hi. First I want to say thank you. I've had the pleasure of being the liaison to the Water and Wastewater Committee, so I appreciate all of the collaboration. But my sense is that it does not quite make sense to do this at this time. I think we noted that the prioritization is so important, and getting those high priority projects through is key. More thing that we're not sure about, and if we want to be doing work, we can go ahead and start the work to collect the data. So I'm not sure I would feel comfortable moving it forward just yet.
Mr. Barrett.
Just to clarify, are you saying that the recommendation is to not move forward with it at all, or more the consensus along the mayor's lines and what I think we heard from Mr. Rose and Director Leach, where we get the data and then it's reviewed and then we'll see?
My understanding was that, and maybe someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but that we know how to start collecting the data, and we don't have to engage with a consultant in a study to do that. And I think that the committee had wanted to see the financials. I wasn't sure that they got the kind of answer that they were looking forward to move forward, but I could be wrong there.
I'm kind of unclear about what your recommendation is, frankly, Vice Mayor Deasy.
I didn't think that the committee was comfortable moving forward with the study at this time.
Okay. I don't know if that decision has been made yet, but maybe it has.
I'm sorry, like in this meeting, or is that what we were looking for? Direction to move it forward? I thought it was like an on pause kind of a thing.
My understanding, and I'm doubting myself right now, but my understanding was that the general consensus from folks who have spoken were to wait, not make a decision now, that we still theoretically might want to do it so it doesn't get put on ice completely, but first the committee gets a look at the financials. I think Mr. Rose was talking about having their ducks in the row because of past experience, making sure that, hey, we know what they're going to need. Let's make sure we have it before we kick off a process where it's just delay as we get the data. I think that's what I was understanding.
That's all
And
right.
that's
Correct.
sound. I
That
think
is fine
yeah.
to say.
I heard the mayor also agree with that approach, and I agree as well.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree also with the approach. I think speaking for certain individuals that I've heard from in our community, I think we just need them to know that we are doing work to rectify and fix the situation. We're not sitting on our haunches. I know, I have people that say to me, I understand the issue. I don't care. I just want it fixed. And I understand the frustration that our community is feeling. I think we just need to make sure that whatever we are doing needs to be conveyed, whether it's we're looking into Water Wastewater Committee is looking into specifics around the chemistry of the water and things of that nature. While people may look at it and not understand what we're talking about, at least they'll see some kind of data that shows that we're doing work and we're not moving forward to rectify this situation. Makes sense.
Ms. Barrett, of course.
One
Yeah,
question,
sorry.
shifting gears a
Certainly.
little bit. The high priority projects, the project readout looks great, much easier to read, very appreciative. But second, looking at the high priority projects, in our quality, relating it to the quality of water, right? Are these, and I'm unsure, are any of these directly linked from the committee's work and your staff's work, or your staff's work only, that this will make an impact on the quality of water residents receive? And was that a factor, and I assume it was, into prioritization?
So the short answer was these projects were elevated to priority prior to the preponderance of water quality issues.
So that would be a no, Director Leach?
Yes, that would be a
Okay.
no. So, but I would say that, for example, the Tank 2 rehabilitation project, that's been on a legacy project in the capital program for maybe 10 years, at least 7, and it's long overdue, will have an impact on water quality. It might, because of the age of the tank and issues with the tank itself. The intake tower project, is there issues related to that structure that have an impact on water quality? There might be. Will we see an improvement? Possibly. But that's not what's driving the priority of these. These are driven by operational need or regulatory compliance.
Is there as the committee goes forward, I know they've spent a lot of time looking at this.
Mr. Merrick, why don't you pull your mic up a little bit more?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah.
Will there be adjustments based on, as new thinking comes into play, or old thinking gets taken up and focused on as far as the water quality? Would that potentially reshuffle how we look at our SIPs, or are these baked? How much flexibility do you see in these SIPs to address the water quality issues?
I would say on the ones that are on a high priority page, I don't know if we want to put those up for the public to see. They're the 4 projects: the Tank 2 rehab, the Bell Canyon Intake Tower project, SCADA improvements, and high priority sewer line replacement. We'll just park the sewer project on the side for now, since we're wanting to speak to water quality. I would submit that the SCADA improvements that we've spoken about earlier, that will have an impact on water quality because of water operator real-time interaction with the processes and equipment at each of the facilities, and the ability to respond, detect, interpret, translate what's happening in real time. But to your point of, can these be shifted with maybe the medium priority projects or low priority based upon water quality influence? My suggestion or submission to you is that some of these projects have to be built at certain times of the year because of its impact on the infrastructure. Tank 2 rehab, the intake tower projects, they have to be built during the non-peak season because those are key infrastructure that we need during the peak season. So that's what drives those. If we wanted to take those and delay them an additional year and bring something, either a new CIP or advance something else, we can play that shell game knowing that there's cost implications, there's regulatory compliance implications, those kinds of things. So, but I think the Water Wastewater Advisory Committee is a body that can vet that process. I think that's part of their prioritization assignment and task, is to review those.
I don't know if Vice Mayor Deasy is amenable to the sort of the consensus as described by Mr. Barrick, that we put this back to the committee and to give them the data that they're asking for. Look a little bit.
I'm sorry,
about
that's what I was trying to say, that we didn't move forward entirely right now, but that we came back to the committee. So
And I'm
forgive
fine with
me
it. I think
for
we have
not
consensus on
being
that.
clear.
All right.
One down, two to go.
Yeah, and I was a little concerned about Mr. Barrick's point. He makes a good point. Actually, an excellent point. You want to focus on trying to deal with the issue at hand, but one of the issues at hand that's been at hand for decades, and certainly the last 10 years, is that intake tower.
Certainly.
And I think we should be a little nervous about that.
Yeah.
And the pipeline that transmits water from Napa. You have to have water. Those are basic. But we can do other things too. We can, and so the SCADA system, in terms of being more responsive, more real time in the treatment process, that sort of makes sense. I don't want to put a whole lot of promise in that, but some promise in that,
right.
that will make sense. So I think the consensus is to bring that data back or gather as much data as we can at this point and kind of evolve. There's not a no. There's not a hard no here at this point. So how about the other thought in terms of the request to have almost like administrative services? I don't know, what is the word to use? Project services? I know it's not inspections, it's not construction management, but somebody has to sort of move these projects through, coordinate them.
Yeah,
talk to a lot of people, and I think obviously if we don't have that person, we have to have that person, or it will not get done. That's my estimation. Excuse me.
Right. So some people call it staff augmentation. Some people call it project management. I like the idea of owners representative services because they're an extension of us. And if it's a firm that doesn't have a synergy with how we do what we do, then we don't want to operate with them. So it's kind of a unique, in my mind, a unique model. And so the idea is they've got bandwidth to do peer review of design. They've got bandwidth for the administrative component of it. If called upon, they can make presentations to the community, to the public, to council. But the idea is that they've got the horsepower and diversity of staff to be able to take a project from that they're not designing, but overseeing the design from design to bid documents and keeping that project on task and on budget.
What are your thoughts, colleagues, on this concept?
So common concept, government and private, where you staff aug, you're down head count and you bring in consultants to fill in a need until you replace the staff. One of my areas of concern here is having consultants manage consultants. One that I've never seen really work out well. It can work out well, but you do it enough and it burns you. Can you explain the governance components you're going to put into place to make sure, like a steering committee, so there's city employees still accountable and responsible, and with the right oversight to make sure it's not a wag the dog and it happened to us situation?
No, it's a great question. So part of the role of the owner's rep with making sure that there's a tracking mechanism so that each particular project that needs, not only needs, but when staff gets engaged in that project, gets an update of it, they have an understanding from both a high level as well as when the details are needed to be vetted through staff or the Water Wastewater Advisory Committee. So part of what out of the gate I'm expecting from this consultant is give me a form and a function of a spreadsheet or table that can also be part of a report that we provide on a regular basis to the Water Wastewater Advisory Committee. But it's a mechanism to track issues as they come up because as you're familiar with projects, any type of design, as they continue to work through the refinement of the project and variables are determined, then answers need to be given and made. And whether that's something that from one consultant to another, they can decide that as an engineering decision, or if it needs some element of community, local perspective, something like that, then we can engage in that process as well. I hope I answered your question.
That is a good question, and I had this similar question. Who will they be answering to ultimately in the city?
Me.
That's the answer.
Yep.
Yes. And I think you're going to have to really spend a lot of time. I know you do this already, and maybe it's impossible to try to hand off, delegate things that are not these priorities
Correct.
others, and that's obviously your challenge.
Yep.
To make sure that it gets done and to focus on this, because I agree with Mr. Barrick. You know, consultants just sort of doing this is kind of weird. We have to have somebody go, nope, that's not happening, or yes, you have clear direction there.
Right.
Otherwise, there will be delay and sort of it won't be as efficient as it could be. So
Correct.
obviously you recognize that issue.
Certainly.
Anyone else? Anyone strongly opposed to the owner's rep concept? I'm supportive of it, but with that point of,
Certainly.
gosh, we really have to manage the consultant who's managing the contracts and the projects.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Others? Yeah.
I'll jump in really quickly. I'll just say that this was another one that I thought was coming back to the Water Wastewater Committee for more discussion. I think the issue that they raised was that even with owner's rep, is that what it's called, owner's rep help, it's kind of unlikely that we can advance every project.
I think she's about to say that we're going to have to go through a prioritization process and maybe tighten up what is actually included on that list. Maybe I'm wrong. You froze, so we didn't get the last point you made.
I think you covered me. I think I heard it.
Okay. What do you think, Mr. Leach, about that concept? I mean, again, another iterative process, an evolving process. You have a list. You pretty much set it out there. Is there room to, do you feel like you should or need more input in terms of that list that you put together, that these are the areas that we need help? In other words, I guess someone could make the argument that we're biting off more than we can chew, and I don't know if that's the case or not. Or do you think that has been hashed out at the level of the committee? I don't know, one way or another. Would it be helpful or not? I think you have direction for this council to move forward on it, but I don't know if there's
Yeah,
room to
I
get
guess
more
my
input.
my wondering is, I'm kind of sensing that these projects have already been vetted through the community as high priorities. And so to have an owner's rep, some of them have already been, we've executed professional services agreements to commence design, so they're managing a consultant. Some of them, we haven't even crafted the request for proposals yet, so they would develop that and work through a process of issuing it. So some of them are in various stages, but unless somebody wanted to kind of raise the white flag and saying, I disagree with this particular project as being in this mix of, what are we talking about, 7? And again, we're talking of a total project budget of shy of 300,000 for 7 projects.
All right. I'm satisfied.
My assumption is that any kind of agreement is this time and materials.
Yes, not to
So
exceed.
If it doesn't happen and there are changes, we're not on the hook. So I don't see any risk with that.
Yeah, there'd have to be something extenuating to kind of negotiate through.
Thank you, Director
Certainly.
Leach.
Further comment, Mr. Rose? I don't typically open it, but if you wanted to weigh in on just this one nuanced issue, please come to the mic. No?
I think,
I'll reopen public comment to allow you to speak. Certainly.
thank you very much. I think we've kind of put Mr. Leach on the spot here, and it wasn't the intention of the Water and Wastewater Committee to dig in this deeply. The only comment that really came out of it, and it was mainly Jay Kuba and myself looking at it, and our only comment to Mr. Leach was he has a lot of projects that are on the list, and it would be a good idea to, and which he's done along with Vice Mayor Deasy, they've prioritized them. I don't think the Water and Wastewater Committee has any intention of getting into that level of detail. I think that's something that Mr. Leach and his staff can handle. And I don't think the Water and Wastewater Committee has any intention of looking at his list and saying yes or no to any of those projects. He could ask us, I guess, of what we think, but it's still basically his job to do that. And our only comment was a very broad comment that you might want to look at cutting down the number of projects and prioritizing them. And I like the idea, and we talked about that in the meeting as well. We like the idea of having an owner's representative looking at these, because we don't have that position. And I think I think they will add a lot to this. I think they will have some organizational skills that we are not able to have, that we may learn a whole lot from this process in the process as well.
All right.
Does that help?
Yep, it does. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Any other comments from anyone else in the public? Seeing none, I'll close the public comment. Unless I'm mistaken, I think you have,
Yeah, nods.
I was going to
have
use the word
nods.
clear direction, but direction.
Nods.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Okay. We're at the end of our meeting, and this is a time where folks, if they so desire, want to make any reports from any of the regional or liaison, or not liaison, other bodies they serve on, any reports on those items. Our NVTA did not meet in August, so I'll report back when we meet again next week. Nothing going on other than the usual at flood control that I've reported on, similar acquisitions of properties for the flood control project. LAFCO got a report that we might have an MSR coming up a little quicker than I anticipated, Mr. Leach, and I know that's developing, but in October, potentially a hearing.
There is. I believe it's October 9th.
Yeah.
LAFCO will have a hearing about the municipal services review focused on St. Helena and some of the dynamics associated with that.
All right. As you all know, I serve on LAFCO, and so I haven't seen the report yet. Not much time to review it, but here we are. I was a little surprised to see that. I'm on LAFCO. Okay, we're moving quickly there, and I'll get that. Any other reports from my colleagues? All right. All right, then this meeting is adjourned. Enjoy this mild, lovely weather.